Welcome to the Exodus Companies podcast. My name is Jared. I'm the CEO and founder of the Exodus Companies. This is a movement from culture to build community. One of the formats that we've done time and time again on the podcast is what I call becoming an asset. And typically with becoming an asset, I grab one of our team members and we talk about a topic that is near and dear to them or myself, something that I would say we're sort of subject matter experts within, or at least it's of high interest to us. And we've done quite a bit of research so we can talk about these specific topics. But one of the things that I wanted to do is kind of switch it up a little bit today. We wanted to do a little bit different version of becoming an asset, where essentially we're just kind of going through some thoughts, what we're doing behind the scenes inside of Exodus Companies, how that applies to culture, and then give a little bit of an action plan at the very end that we can implement in our own lives so we can walk away and become an asset to the people around us. So I have Brenton on the podcast today. I feel like you're my general con. I kind of con you into being on the show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just here to hang out,
Just here to get that Riz.
Oh, gosh. Not again. Every podcast.
Every podcast, it's the Riz. Jared, it makes you sound old every time you say Riz. I understand now. But Brenton plays a huge role in the company behind the scenes, running media and planning media and editing media. And so bring him on. Also, you're well-spoken on camera, so good job there.
I try.
What's your personal YouTube again?
Outbound Intent.
Nice. So you guys that are interested in overlanding should check out Outbound Intent because you got some stuff cooking.
Oh, yeah. We got some stuff going behind the scenes.
Good stuff. Cool stuff. I mean, we've talked about overlanding on the podcast before. We're not going to get into that in this particular episode, but that is something that I think is applicable, even if you are not into overlanding, you people that are listening. Becoming more self-reliant is a piece of this movement. And that doesn't mean that you have to be some crazy prepper, although I think that preppers probably are generally not crazy with how the world is currently going.
Yeah. I probably would have said that they were at one point in my life, but now it's like, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I get it.
It definitely part of our DNA is this rebellion inside of us as Americans, this ability to be free and to be able to look at the landscape and say, here is land, I can exist on it. And we've lost a lot of that. So everything you can do as a person in this country or whatever country you live in to be able to be more self-reliant, do it. I think that now's the time to really start building those communities. And this format on this podcast, Becoming an Asset, is one of those ways that we tap into some of that stuff to teach people. And also, every once in a while, we'll get these viral clips on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram that apparently all we've got to do is talk about margarine.
Talk about margin, and everybody comes after us. So.
They were on us hot as butter. See what I did there?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Anyway, so what I want to start this podcast off with today is sort of a thought of the day. And this is where I'm just going to introduce to you guys something I've been thinking about a lot. So something I've been thinking about a lot that is applicable to our culture, it's applicable to what we're doing here at the Exodus Companies, is I feel like there's a revival happening. And I don't mean that in like a weird hippie way. I don't see people like running around that way. But what I'm seeing is a revival of the mind. And I guess I should probably define what I'm sort of observing. So it's
because you're not talking about like a trendy topic as far as like survival.
Not a flash in the pan. This is not something that's popular to do right now. Where like, hey, we're going to do this thing, and it's a trend for 15 seconds, and then we're on to the next thing. No, I think there's a legitimate revival of the mind happening. And I'm going to ask you then, like, kind of what you think too, because we're two different generations. So there's oftentimes, I guess what I'm essentially saying to the podcast listeners right now is you're kind of like our token Gen Z, where like,
when you need a Gen Z opinion,
we just tap into Brenton, but you're like, nah, dude, you're a boomer. And like, nah, come on, man, nah. And when I'm on base and I'm understanding, Brenton confirms or denies that. But what I see is people waking up to what's going on around them. Whether that's looking at media or rejecting media, One thing that we've talked about a lot, Brenton, is there's a general rejection of social media happening. Now, I don't have numbers. I think that generally speaking, social media platforms are still growing. I mean, there's some that are stagnant, but numbers keep increasing. So there's still more people flooding to these social media platforms. However, what I see in my generation, in your generation, is more of a focus on physical interaction with each other. And what that means is like going on trips together, spending time around the fire together, physically interacting with people in your circle. I see this return to that. And so you see people saying on their, ironically, social media pages, they'll post, oh my gosh, this is like what all the millennials did for the longest time. It's like, I'm deleting my Facebook for a month. Okay, so I don't mean a temporary. There's a distinguishing difference here. People are so tired of being manipulated, of having stuff just shoved down your throat day in and day out, that they are forsaking social media. Like, heck, yesterday we were pricing out new iPads for the team so that we would be able to remove social media from our personal phones. Like, think about that for a second. Like, we exist around media on this team. But I said, like, if we get a new iPad Pro, quite frankly, I'm going to delete Instagram.
Well, and you talked about phone. For the past 7-8 years, every day you've been the one posting, handling everything.
I'm sick of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I get it.
Legitimately. Like it's this weird thing for me. Like I love social media because it has the potential to do a lot of good. And we've done a lot of good through social media over the last 8 years. And I'm tired of it. Like I really truly look at it and I'm like, man, the only things that I truly enjoy to consume are podcasts and YouTube, because I can learn something on both platforms. It connects me to people in long form content. Like, dude, I'll have a 3-hour podcast. It'll take me the whole week driving back and forth to work to listen to it. But I'm willing to do that. And I think a lot of other people are too. And that's what excites me about our podcast so much, is that it gives that opportunity for people to see a different lens and possibly dive into these topics of culture in a little bit of a different way. But I don't know what you think. What's your generation?
I mean, personally,
speak for all Gen Zs right now.
Because I know what every Gen Zer wants. But
actually, clarify, because you hung out with some of your friends that went off to college. You didn't even know what they were talking about.
Yes. So I feel like I am kind of failing in my role as like the office Gen Zer, because apparently I left high school and now I'm like, I'm dumb. I'm just dumb when it comes to...
All your friends that went into college, they have a new language.
Yeah. You even told me of a new word. What is it? Camp?
Bro, I don't even know.
Campy? I don't even know.
Camp aesthetic.
I was like, what is this?
I saw it used. I was like, what does this mean? And it was kind of inappropriate. But I don't even know. I don't even know. Don't go on Urban Dictionary for anything.
Don't search that.
Ever. Because it always twists everything. But
no, I think we started talking about this like 3 months ago. I was having a conversation with a group of friends, and we were just kind of talking about how like they were just done with social media.
Yeah.
Either A, they're just deleting it and they're done, or B, they're just learning how to manage it very well. They're just
intentionality.
Yeah. They can spend, heck, even a few minutes a day, and that's it on their social media.
Yeah.
And then was it a month ago? I've deleted it for a weekend, I think. And for the past like 4 or 5 years, it's been like same thing as you. I mean, obviously just every day just on social media. And I was like, wow, that's like, this is crazy. Like it's literally just social media, but it's like, I feel like I could get so much more done in my weekend. And it just kind of got me thinking and talking to the people. Like there's a lot of people I know who are just, they're done. They're tired of going on social media. And you can look at it from a political stance, as far as you see all the politics and all the news that you don't want to deal with, or you just see the just grossness of society from the Gen Z. Yeah. It's
the degenerates of Gen Z. Degenerate Z's.
But yeah, I think that's how that conversation just started. We were just,
and I think there's a danger in this, because so what this is doing, so essentially to control narratives, to be able to control what is put into our brain, we have to consume what is being put out.
Yeah. And
traditionally that was done through major news outlets, but like my generation, like we're not watching Fox News and we're not watching CNN. We don't, largely, like, there's probably millennials that do.
Yeah.
The people that really pay attention to the news tend to be like the news talking points, like people on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, things like that. The commentators. generally speaking, I would say younger generations are going to watch commentators commenting on like the old school major
that's a
news
good way to
outlets
put it. Yeah.
rather than consuming the major news outlets.
Yeah.
So you're getting a filter happening through the media, which on one hand can be very good. But in order for the elitist pricks, quite frankly, to control the narrative, we need to be consuming their product. So my only fear, or what I've analyzed and seen, is that when we start to reject their tool that they use to push the narrative, they get very defensive and they will put things in place that force you to consume their media. Oh, kind of like locking us in our house for a couple of months and saying you can't go anywhere.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. You know, how they'll release fake things to make us stay home and consume their media and their graphs and their scary red letters and their death charts. You guys know what I'm talking about. But that's the fear, is when they start to lose power over your mind, they start to ratchet up the intensity of what they'll put in front of you. And also, the amount of vulgar stuff that you'll see through that will increase as well.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about, is we're starting to see the good side of social media, I would say, on one hand, because although there's a revival to sort of reject it, there's also this revival to use it in a way, in sort of like a grassroots way, to bring light to topics that typically would be shoved under the rug, like the child sex trafficking and all that stuff. That's a big thing right now. People are talking about that with the movie Sound of Freedom. I still haven't gone and seen it yet. I will go see it.
Yeah.
It's really hard with all my kids, like to find childcare and get all that to happen, but we will watch that. I'm excited to watch it. But you start to see the fact that, and this is the danger that I'm going to lay out. Well, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
So, what do you see a lot of right now? And if you don't know if you don't nail what I'm thinking, that's okay. But I'm curious what you think. With all the child sex trafficking content coming out, bringing light to it, do you notice anything that's consistently happening right now? Kind of the opposing force? Have you noticed anything?
I don't know if I have.
Okay, so it's 3 letters, starts with M, has an A and a P. The conversation around MAPS, the minor attracted persons.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I see where you're going.
So this is where I think my brain immediately goes to. We had the whole Epstein thing, okay? We have this book of people that were involved with Epstein, that were on his island, that did all these crazy things, these horrific things to children and minors and all this other stuff, okay? I would venture to say many, if not all, of our politicians, not all, it's not all, but most I would venture to say are involved in something like that. Or even if they're not like legitimately involved, they have positioned themselves around people who are, and they're too close.
Yeah. Well, and they're almost forced to enable that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're like the whole Epstein Island thing, the whole way that worked was they had this island that you would be essentially invited to. When you're there, they had cameras everywhere. So they had footage of everything that went down. Even if you innocently went there, like you didn't know who Epstein was, came up to you and like was like this rich dude, looked really like well dressed, and you're like, whoa, this dude's inviting me to his island. You go to his island and you're partying and you're having a good time. All of it's on camera. Mm-hmm. Even if you didn't do anything, okay, but you went there. It's cataloged that you've gone there. They've now got dirt on you because now you have to prove that you weren't part of that thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was a major co-op to control the narratives and things like that. And now we see the whole transgender movement, and we see the fact that they are pushing all of this on children. Why are they doing that? Okay. And I'm not the first person to see this and think this. And some of this is from other podcasts I listen to. And one of those podcasts I like to listen to off and on, I go through it in spells, is Real AF. I like listening to Andy's podcast, and they talk about this. There's other people that are way smarter than me that have pointed this out. And as they've pointed it out, that's when I'm like, okay, yeah, now I see it. I get it. That's why they're saying the term minor attracted person instead of pedophile. That's why they're trying to normalize this. Because think about it. If they're on the brink of everything coming out and us being able to say, look, you guys are pedophiles, you're hurting children, now you need to pay. Well, the way that they pay is they die, okay? So one, they're going to try to self-preserve themselves. Okay, well, how could you do that? Well, you can't do that unless being attracted to 8-year-olds as an adult is normal.
Yeah.
So once you normalize it, now you've rid us the ability to punish them. And that's what I think full circle, this whole thing is creating. I think the fact that the FBI and all the 3-letter agencies aren't releasing the list of who's on that book with Epstein.
That's telling you something.
That's telling you something. Okay. I would not be surprised if the whole Epstein thing was a government op to keep control of, just like CIA and JFK and all of the control that was happening that ultimately led up to an assassination. Yeah. So they're going to try to control politicians at every turn. Yeah. So naturally they have the means, the methods, and the motivation to control politicians in that way so that they can push their narrative of control, surveillance, and all the other stuff that makes them rich and powerful. So yeah. So when I look at what's going down now with like Sound of Freedom and all this other stuff, that's why I think it's more important than ever that people who are logical, who have these thoughts like I'm sharing, speak about it and talk about it and become engaged in those kinds of things in that revival. So if that's rejecting social media, that's fine, but we have to be careful, because if we completely reject social media, who has the narrative?
True. Mainstream.
Yeah. So this is a careful balance. Now, I'm not telling people that have rejected social media to come back to social media.
Yeah.
But this is this wrestle that I go through. Like when I see something that I'm like, hey, we could go do that. We can help with this. We can speak on this, or we could reject this. We can not play a part in this. We have to be careful that we are still engaged in the conversation. And sometimes that means utilizing the platform to the best way that we can. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, I have in my notes something I wanted to talk about in the process, a way that we're impacting our community with the Exodus companies, some of the next steps that we're working on.
Well, and usually that means being involved on platforms that we hate, which I'm really bad with. Like as far as like TikTok, Instagram, like all the main platforms. Yeah. Because a lot of the, I don't know what the right word is, the smaller platforms like Rumble, great platforms, but they're just it's kind of one topic, one thing. Well, and it's not a bad thing, but
that's hard to navigate because, I mean, it's the same thing. We've said this a lot. Some people would argue, and they'll bring up that point. They'll say, okay, Jared, you said it's a good thing that they're rejecting social media, but we need to keep the pressure up and keep the narrative going of truth. So just go to Rumble. It's like, okay, well, we've been on Rumble. Okay. TA has existed. We've had company
nothing
content.
Happens.
It's like 5 views. Like the reality is, like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all of these things were created and flourished because they brought something different to the table. Okay. They checked a box for people and people said, yes, I want to engage in that. I have yet to see a platform say, we hate censorship, come to our platform, and it works. I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. Like TikTok blew up because of what it was. You know what I mean? It was a younger generation, and I was dancing, which is ironic because it was all dancing and crap, which is why I never wanted to be on the platform. And now, like, I do very little.
Like, do you remember Musical.ly back in the day?
Yeah.
It was exactly like that, but just on a newer level.
So naturally, like, it attracted a different crowd. But what's funny is it's now turned into a long form platform. Like there's search, you can keyword searches and stuff. It's sort of like a portrait version of YouTube in a lot of ways, which is funny. Like when a video is playing, like in the search bar, it'll put like what the topic is and stuff, and you can search more videos. So they're moving away from like the trash cringe dancing, which was what it was. Like, dude, there's like, who was it? I remember like this one dude, like Kale Dances or whatever the frick it was, some dude that had a big account. It was just some guy that danced, which I think if you're a grown man and you're out there dancing on TikTok, like
wait, hold up.
I did it one time. Okay. Checking my notes here. Brenton's not allowed to talk about that one time that I danced. Okay. But that was funny.
That was pretty funny.
That was pretty good. Like, that got some good views on YouTube too.
It did. Got like 30,000.
But anyway, so it was this platform that I think was just pretty cringy, pretty trashy, low ethical standards, low morals. And then, as we talked about on the podcast before, you started seeing politicians really targeting it as this like Chinese spyware. And that was my point where I realized that anytime our politicians in mass go against something, they're wrong.
Yeah, you should.
They're always.
You should look into it.
You should look into them. Yeah. What are they doing? What are they hiding? And at the same time, what I saw was a lot of the child sex trafficking popping up on TikTok. Like not the videos of that happening, but the topics of people talking about it. Yeah. And TikTok wasn't censoring it. And I saw things like footage from the war in Ukraine of stuff that was actually happening, and it wasn't propaganda that was pro-Ukraine. Like I saw Putin's speeches popping up on TikTok, and I know some of the listeners are gonna be like, well, holy crap. Well, if they're letting Putin speak, they're Marxists. You got to stay away from that platform. I'm like, how do you know that what you are listening to is true if you do not have access to everything?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the danger of like total rejection, totally allowing them to control the narrative. So there's a careful balance that I think we need to strike here. But it is encouraging at the same time to say, like when I was growing up as a millennial, people were like, they're just into video games. They're just on their phones. They don't know how to have an attention span. They don't have any skill set. They like, dude, we got everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then those same people shoved us into college. And then a lot of people my age got 100,000 in debt, 150,000, bro. Yeah, it was a mess. A lot of people got really screwed up by that. So anyway, it's unique to see how the shift is happening.
Yeah. And I think there can be, for people, like different phases as far as like some people, like if I'm talking to them and then like they're, I don't know, sharing or whatever, what's going on, it's like you need to actually just get off social media.
Oh, for sure.
Like there's different times where it's like, you should be able to, you should get on social media, engage for a little bit and whatever, have a small window of time. But there's some people, man, where it's like, no, you need to just leave for a while.
You need to leave.
Yeah, you need to be done, and then see what happens.
You can't handle it. If you're a chick right now that's working on TikTok, I think you should put it away.
Yeah, put it away.
It's time
Delete
to go.
it.
It's time to go.
Or
but I could make 7 figures on OnlyFans. Yeah, right.
Yeah, or on the opposite spectrum, if you're a man and you're just stuck in that, you need to go. They're just
social media.
If that's where your feed's at, your search feed, you need to be done.
Yeah, it's. I will say it's getting less and less. Like if your feed is full of like garbage, you're engaging with garbage. Yeah. Like it doesn't happen. Like when I first got TikTok, bro, I swear it knew I was like
that's what I was saying.
20s man, because that's all it was. Yeah. But anymore, if I get on TikTok, dude, what it is like news feeds. It's like economists, like it's stuff I've engaged with, and I don't get any crap.
Well, that's good to hear, because I know when we talked last when I got it, as soon as I got on, that's all I got.
Knew you were a Gen Z male, and you had a Super Baja.
Yeah.
I cannot wait till we can talk about that truck.
It's not a truck.
It is a truck. It's lifted.
Oh gosh, you're gonna ruin my name.
We'll clarify what that means at another time, but moving along with kind of becoming an asset. So we recognize a problem, okay? That's what this series or format, I should say, is about. It's like, hey, we've got a problem here. Or we see maybe some encouragement, or maybe something, there's an indicator in our culture that says, hey, this is where culture is going. But like, what are we going to do about it? What are some of the steps that I have down here called the process? And I think that it's valuable for people to know what we're doing at the Exodus Companies. And the part that frustrates me the most about this experience launching the Exodus Company so far has been that we've had a limited ability to impact culture the way that I know our team is hungry to do. Mm-hmm. Some of that's because of our current location. Some of that's just because of the economy. It's like Josh and I were talking about the other day. It's like they're intentionally pillaging our economy, and it makes companies like ours, it makes it more difficult for us to be able to pour into the culture the way that we want, because we have to keep our ship floating. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like we talked about, with TA Targets in the last episode or one of the recent episodes, we're talking about how much content we've had to put out our products. That's not where our passion necessarily lies. But we had to do it and have to do it because right now they're crunching down economically on everybody. So like if you don't have a business that's surviving, you can't impact culture.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of money just to do the cultural
just
aspect.
To, I guess I'll touch on it a little bit, just to paint the picture for people. And this is why at the end of the episodes, we ask you guys to support us in some way, whether that's just word of mouth or whether that's purchasing something. Because right now, what's looking at me in the face is a $10,000 camera. What's looking Brenton in the face is a $10,000 camera. What's over here on my left is a $2,000 light, and same thing over there. And it's because we want to be able to present a quality level of content to people that you can listen to it. It's not all crackly. It's not garbage. It's done well. All of that costs money. Now that investment goes on forever. Like we're going to run these cameras forever, but to be able to employ Americans, to be able to step away from a business that makes us money and put time into the Exodus companies, which this business is not about making us money.
Mm-hmm.
This business is about impacting people, but it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of overhead. We have 3 to 4 team members at any given point with our hands on this podcast, on the Exodus companies, running this and making it happen. And that all costs money. So that's why when we ask for support, that's why that's important, because we're all in an economic time that's pretty crazy. And we have to keep our ship floating so that we can even navigate through the waters and be able to impact the people around us. So touching on that real quick, the biggest thing that I'm the most excited about that I haven't talked about, I don't think, on the podcast at all. I have on TA, I have on my personal page, and I did on Arcane. I talked about the building. And what makes me the most excited is having a physical presence in our community.
Yeah.
So for people listening, there will be a building sometime this year in southeastern Pennsylvania that you will be able to come to, and it will be the Exodus companies. And that to me is like this vision that is starting to come to life. It's starting to become a real thing where it's like, dude, we're going to have a place that people can come, and we haven't had that. We've had a fab shop where like you could come, you might die. Like, there might be sparks and stuff.
Probably don't want to come inside. But.
Yeah, it's like people want to come and stop by and buy Targets and buy our products and see a showroom. But the reality is like right now we've just got a shipping area and then a shop. And it's like I can't have people coming here walking through our shop because it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But this other facility is not the manufacturing process. This is where we will ship our products from, but then have our storefront and also partner up with some local businesses that have a same mindset as us, be able to impact them, have a space that they can impact you. And then when you come into our building, you're now experiencing our culture and our team, but you're also experiencing the companies that we've partnered up with, which is pretty neat.
And last Monday during our Monday morning meeting or whatever evening meeting, we were talking about essentially our biggest drawback of Exodus companies right now is we don't have a space to like physically meet people.
Yeah.
Like the only way we can impact people right now is online, which is great.
Yeah.
But we'd also like to have a physical spot.
So the biggest thing that I want to do, knowing, like also selfishly, let's look at this from an analytical standpoint, from a business standpoint. I need to keep selling our products to be able to pay our team, to be able to grow our business and impact culture. So we know that. We already admitted that. We said, hey, look, selfishly, this doesn't exist. Like I'm not this independent, wealthy dude that can just afford to put millions into something and just float it. Mm-hmm. Someday, that'll be the case. Someday I will have access to that kind of money, and I may have projects that are just me dumping money into just to pour back into people. The reality is that's not me right now.
Yeah.
So, selfishly, we have to sell these products. But we admit that we know also that there is sort of, I don't know if you call it a mass, but there's a rejection of social media happening. So it's like, how do we reach more people? So from a strategic standpoint, knowing that there's at least a portion of our populace that is moving away from social media altogether, there has to be a way that we reach them. And how can we do that? Well, physical location is one of those ways. And I know that like the spot where that building's at, there's 16,000 cars that drive by in a day. 16,000 individual people, sometimes 3 or 4 people in a car, will drive past a building that's going to be a beautiful black and gray building that has Exodus companies on the side.
It's going to stand out.
30,000 square feet. You will see it. This isn't some little hole in the wall. This is a 30,000 square foot building that's boom, right in the middle of a massive transit hub. How many of those people can we impact?
Yeah.
Every single freaking day, there's 16,000 people that drive right past those doors. How many can we get into that building? I don't care if they don't buy apparel. I don't care if they don't buy one of our products. Can they come in and learn something? Can we create a storefront that they get value even if they don't spend any money? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe our culture does pour out in that way. And I hope that our team that's in the storefront exhibits that level of excellence and culture that when people walk in that door, they have to walk away saying there's something different here, because that's going to encourage one of those 16,000 people to go impact another, one of 16,000. So now we get 25 people in the store a day and 25 other people go home and say, whoa, you got to check out this Exodus company. How much more powerful is that than Instagram? How much more powerful is that than TikTok? You know what I mean? I just know that there is this next phase of our business that's coming very soon. And I don't know how many people are going to listen to this episode, but I hope that that excites you, because what I'm trying to do is create a proof of concept of this idea of a business that I haven't ever seen before, and then replicate that nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
That'll take me 50 years, like guaranteed. This is going to take 50 years to see this seed that we're planting in 2023 to then become this nationwide thing that I think could work.
And just the impact that would have is
huge,
insane.
So, when we look at the problem, like it's easy for us to say politics is this is woe is me, this boogeyman over here is saying this thing, and I feel really bad about this thing. It's easy for us to just kind of throw our hands up and say, look, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm just going to bounce back. But if we want to be sovereign individuals, we want to have individual liberty, we want to experience freedom in the country, you want to have essentially soil that's ripe enough to plant seeds and sow results, whether that's a business or a family or to do something that you're passionate about. We have to have our finger on the pulse of it, and we cannot take the path of no action. And I don't know what the percent is of people that are apathetic, but there are, I would say, probably more people that are sort of like apathetic to what's going on. They're just kind of like, whatever. It's just
like social media or
all of it.
All of it. Gotcha.
All of the culture.
Yeah.
Now there's a revival happening. I just said that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the spark. Now the fuel is, let's release the book of the pedos. Like, let's find out, like, what are we actually getting pillaged by? Who is actually the actor? I want to know who's making money.
Yeah.
Like, we already know. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
We know. When you walk into office and you make $200,000 a year, and in 15, 20 years, you're worth 200 million, bro. Yeah. Like, you got to know how to work money to make money.
I also want to go to school where they do for their stock trading.
Yeah.
I would love that. Just to,
all the meme pages that literally just follow like BlackRock.
And they make a lot of money.
They make a killing.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
They follow the trades of BlackRock, or they'll follow Nancy Pelosi, or they'll follow the next politician, how they're trading, buying, selling stocks, and what they're investing in. Yeah, dude, some people are making some big bucks just by following the insider traders.
It's crazy.
And that's all it is. It's insider trading, and it's pillaging our nation.
But yeah, going back to what you're talking about the revival, I was also going to bring up that I also see, I guess, like some hopelessness there too. Yeah. Like some people are getting to that point where they're like, they see all this all of a sudden, but now they're like, this is, it's too much. Like,
it's a careful balance.
Yeah. Like, what do you do? Mm-hmm. It's just too much.
Yeah. So let me answer that. I'm not an expert. Okay. And you tell me if you think I'm wrong. Pursue personal excellence in your life. What I mean by that is, if you're a man, be a man. Yep. Step up and be a man. Be a masculine man. Reject the idea of toxic masculinity. Go marry a woman. Raise a family. Like, I know, holy crap, he just said, man, go marry woman. Do it. You know what I mean? Be a man. Be strong. Have some fortitude. Be willing to piss some people off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Say something online that makes someone hate you, and then embrace it. Go raise young men. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I always like how you say that your children are your best, I don't know what you said, like your best examples of changing culture. Like
100%.
That's how you do it. I think that's cool.
And you know what's funny is my wife and I said originally, like, we're going to have 2 kids. Mm-hmm. It's the perfect family. So, on average in America right now, couples have 1.94 kids on average. That's the average rate of birth.
And that's terrible, because that's not replacing.
We're not replacing the amount of deaths that are happening in our country. So if you want to save a culture, guys, those of you that are men out there right now that have a family and you're like, 1 kid, 2 kid, nah. Step up. Yeah. It's time to step up. Like, I'm speaking as a father of 6 kids. Okay, I'm not saying you have to have 6 kids, but look, guys, we got to beat this average. We have to, it sounds crazy, we have to outproduce the crazies. Mm-hmm. We literally have to outproduce the crazies. Honestly,
isn't too hard.
They tend to just abort themselves, which is a horrible thing.
Yeah, that's terrible.
But at the same time, like, they do not have a sustainable future for their offspring. But at the same time, their plan is not to have offspring of numbers to control. They want to control through a small force. So we can't let them do that. And one of the ways that you can do that is to raise a family. But it's like, I am the picture of the toxic man at the end of the day. Like, literally, think about what they think of a toxic man. My wife stays home, okay? And she's submissive. So she looks at me as the leader of the home, okay? When we have a
Can't use that
disagreement,
word.
when we have a disagreement, guess whose word is the last call? Mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guess who gets to steer the ship? Me. Who has control of the finances? At the end of the day, me. Even though we have a joint account, like everything with my wife and I, it's together.
Mm-hmm.
There's one checking account, or we have multiple accounts. We have our money spread out so the government can't get all of it, but we share everything. Okay. But at the end of the day, she has a submissive role to me as the leader of the household. When it comes to those final decisions, when crap's hitting the wall and the fan, it's me.
Yeah.
So there's a weight that comes with that.
Double-edged sword right
and
there.
she carries a weight of raising the family. But that's that traditional family. And that's why in a recent podcast, I said, my boys are going to destroy. They are going to absolutely destroy all these little soy boys out there that are raised by, I don't know, man boys, like we've talked about.
We've talked about man boys.
Bro, like for real. What an advantage it is when you embrace that traditional role of a family and you build a family unit in this nation of people that value freedom, sovereignty, individual liberty, and they can't just be swayed by people that say, "Oh, you're bad." It's like, okay, so,
and
so you don't like me because we share traditional roles, but you know what, man? There's a lot of excuses. There's a lot of people that make excuses to not take the action. You know, we're talking about it with our business. What are we doing to take the action? And people like to look at other people and say, you have to take the action. I can't do anything. I'm just me. It's like, yes. One person, when you look at the scope of your life and you say, look, I only interact with 20 people in a week, you're going to say, look, I have limited ability to interact. But what if you became stronger? What if you became smarter? What if you started eating different? What if you got out of debt? Like, what if you just lived an example, a silent example? I'm not saying everybody gets on social media, tries to build a page, build a brand. No. Lived an example that people look at and say, undeniably, that dude's different. Okay. Does that not impact people?
Oh, 100%.
Would you say that that's probably more of an impact than getting on Facebook?
Oh, yeah. Your immediate community.
Exactly.
And I was actually going to bring this up on a totally different podcast, but I think this is perfect here. There's a study done that a share of 25 to 29-year-old men and women who are married decreased between 2019 and 2021 from 27% to 23% among men and 36% to 32% among women. So those are married. That's the percentage of married.
And they had an age group there?
25 to 29. 25.
So you're saying...
The way they word it is weird. I will say that.
Say it again real quick. So 25 to 29-year-olds?
Yep. So the share of 25 to 29-year-olds who were married decreased between 2019 and 2021.
So essentially 25, 29-year-olds are getting married less frequently.
Yes.
By about a quarter. 25%.
4% in those 2 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Does that shock you?
Not really. Because I don't see people from my age group. Now I'm still...
He's single, ready to mingle.
What I was going to say is I'm still young, but honestly, like, when did you get married again?
20.
I'm 20.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see, there's one person I know from my age group who's gotten married.
Yeah.
So that is saying something. And I know. So
even, I can't speak for your upbringing, what you experienced growing up, but not from your parents, I'm saying, but from society.
From my age. Yeah.
But even in my generation, they were already pushing for my generation to, and we saw statistically, people started waiting longer to have kids, which feels good because people are like, oh, I'm going to college, I'm doing something with my life, I'm doing all of these things. And what you realize is now the women are getting married at 30 years old, okay? Bro, like, I think it's like 34, you're geriatric.
That's crazy.
Like,
wow, that's like young.
We're waiting so long, and like we're having 1.94 kids on average with the last statistic I read. I don't know if that's perfectly accurate, but we're not even having enough children born to replace people that are dying.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, everybody likes to say overpopulation.
No,
at the same time, what I've seen, what I've been like, I'm not an expert, but what I've researched, at the little I've researched, it's not that.
Yeah.
What will actually happen is we will not have enough people replacing people that die. and retire. And we see that in industries too.
And I don't have the numbers for this. I was listening to a podcast the other day. But essentially, because of where we're at now and the rate we're going, in order to come back to a point where we're like producing more, it's going to take like generations in order to get there. And so now we're at the point where it's like people are going to get old, but we're not going to have enough people to fill the workforce.
Yeah.
So
there's a couple things that'll happen though.
Higher
people
taxes.
People that are having kids, their kids are going to be kings.
Yeah.
If they're raised with a good foundation and they're raised to pursue that excellence, think about how much easier their world is going to be to navigate. Like there's going to be challenges and there's a lot of control that's coming down the pipeline, but think about when everybody around you is mediocre, how much easier is it to just take their lunch?
Yeah.
And we have to be thinking about that. You know what I mean? And I pity your generation because I like to think about, okay, if I was your age right now and I was in the dating sphere, like how would I navigate trying to find a good woman to marry? It's like, bro.
Dude, it's hard, bro. It's hard.
It's hard out here for these dudes. Bro, just to find a pure blood, I'd be like...
Dude, it is. Yeah, 100%.
This is the right podcast for this.
I wasn't sure if we're going to go there.
Oh, we're going there.
We can go there.
One of my criteria, if I was dating right now, is you could not have the COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
I would not marry a woman if she had the COVID vaccine.
Well, and that says multiple things to me. Besides the health facts of the vaccine, how disgusting that is, it shows that somebody can actually stand up for something. I personally know people who have been kind of like convinced by their parents.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the route they had to go. And that's a hard, yes, I'm not saying that's an easy thing to do.
That's hard to navigate.
That is very hard to navigate.
Still, I have the luxury of saying this because I'm not dating right now. So take it with a grain of salt. But there's a couple reasons I would not marry a woman with the COVID vaccine. Okay. This is going to be a soundbite that gets me canceled. I would not marry a woman who got the COVID vaccine because there's unknown side effects that could perpetually go down through the lineage. Like part of me being a man is being able to bring to the table the ability to produce offspring that then carry my name, my DNA, my lineage forward. Now, a lot of people can't have kids. It's not a stab at that. Okay. There's a lot of people in my friend group that really struggle with that. So that is not a stab at that. But if you're a man that is of that mindset, that's why that might be important to you. And the other thing is that mindset shift, like you just talked about, is I would be concerned that one, either they weren't strong enough to stand up and say no, okay, which you have a limited ability while your parents are parenting you.
Yes.
However, that also means that you are walking into a relationship with her parents who were coercive enough to force her to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
And all of that paints a picture for a whole lot of BS down the road that personally, if I was dating right now, there's no way.
Yeah.
No way.
It's just a very complicated topic because I think we also have to have some grace with it.
Yeah.
As far like if that's
I'm still
like
not marrying her.
Okay,
we'll be friends. Yeah, no, we won't.
But yeah, no, I think that it's such a hard line because like, yes, that's what I want and that's what I'm going to look for.
Yeah.
But if that's like one of the last things, it's like, what do you do? Like, because there's different scenarios and it's like, it's so complicated.
Told, like, I'm not judging either.
Oh, no.
So I want to be clear.
No, I'm on the same page as you.
I want to be clear that I think that if God brings the right woman into your life, he brings the right woman into your life. Okay.
Yeah.
You'll work through whatever's there.
Yeah. Because we all got stuff.
But there is a consequence to what went down over the last 3 years that even further pushes the ability to bring our population back to where it needs to be in the birth rate. And I don't think we're going to see it until your generation starts trying to have kids.
Yeah.
And when we see that, you see statistics in 15 years at 25, 30, 40% of women. Again, this is just my speculation. This isn't statistics. But if it gets that high, that there's sterility across the board like that, bro, what happened that was broad enough all at the same time that created it? And there's only going to be an answer. You know, I know that our water's poisoned. We have, and I'm not saying, again, go in the conspiracy rabbit hole, but we have runoff from fields with fertilizers and pesticides and stuff. Like our water has bad stuff in it. We eat food that's horrible for us. Okay. I do it to, like, again, when I'm talking about this stuff, when we talk about the 7 F's of culture, I'm still on the same journeys. Like I'm not speaking as some like podium dude. I'm just saying, look, I recognize these are important and I'm working in my own life to do the same things. But when we look at what we drink, what we eat, what we consume media wise, how we interact with people, it's no wonder.
Yeah.
Like we have the health issues and all the other stuff that we have. I mean, you have to be crazy to not expect the things that we're seeing. But I do feel bad for this generation because there's a lot of challenges in that. And it would be very hard. Also, not to mention a period of your life where you were supposed to be interacting with people and trying to build those relationships and kind of interacting with like women. They told you no.
Yeah. Because
they shut it down. Yeah. They shut it down, bro.
Yeah.
Like, now what? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And there's so many dudes, well, not just dudes, girls and guys, that I think they go on social media and like the people that they see are just not marriage material. Yeah. Like, because you're just fed these just, I mean, it goes back to, you know, everything in social media, but you're just fed these people that, I don't know, are just not.
And ultimately though, there's a lot of responsibility that rests on the parents.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I don't think I'll ever have the mindset that some of the generation before me had with us. Like millennials got hammered, dude. Yeah. We got freaking hammered at every turn. Not those, I guess it would be Gen X. It would be our parents' generation. Right. Everybody said we're lazy.
I always just wrap those in
everybody,
together.
Well, it's so like boomer doesn't mean age to me. I know. So like everybody that gets mad on our content when I say boomer, it doesn't mean baby boomers to me. The way that word has evolved in our language is a mentality that does happen to sometimes exist in that generation, but it's just a mentality.
Yeah. I mean, I'll call you boomer sometimes.
Yeah, we do it all the time, boomer.
Yeah. It's just who we are.
Double boomer. But we had parents and stuff saying, hey, you're lazy, you're this, that, the other thing. But then those same parents, like I said, shoved my generation through college and said, there's no way that you could succeed. You have to go to college. How many times have I asked to see a degree for anyone I've hired here?
Never.
Do you think I ever will?
No.
Never.
And you shouldn't.
Never.
Yeah.
There will never be a time that when I sit down to interview someone that I'm thinking about hiring on any of my companies, that I will sit down and say, what degree do you have?
Yeah.
In fact,
if they have one,
I want to know what school.
Yeah.
I want to know what they studied. And on the surface level, people are like, oh, so you do want to know their degree. No, I want to make sure they didn't go through a propaganda machine.
Yeah.
Because that's not compatible with our culture here.
Yeah. And we've all said any job here, there's no degree. Like there's degrees for our jobs, but you shouldn't have to.
You don't have to go into debt to come work for a good company. Yeah. That's the part but my generation wasn't told that.
Yeah.
We were told you have to go to college. You have to go get the degree. You have to do that thing to get the good job, to be able to have the traditional family, to raise the kids, to do the thing. Bro, it was such a lie. It was such a lie. And now I have a degree, and in my Instagram bio, I jokingly say I have a degree and I don't use it. I do use it. Like it's a lie. You know, it's a fib a little bit where I'm like,
but you didn't use it to get this
What
job.
I'm doing right now with the Exodus companies over the last 8 years was not because of my degree. Yeah. Now my degree and past relationships opened doors that led me to the ability to jump into an opportunity that I then seized. So if you're in that degree right now, like I want to be careful. Like I'm not saying throw out the rest of your schooling and don't get the degree. Just understand that the predatory existence of our degrees and the stuff that we're getting shoved through and young kids are getting shoved through is just that. It's predatory. Yeah. And it's locking so many people into largely an impossibility to even have financial freedom because you are starting off your life with a mortgage, but it's not like a mortgage because you can't even bankrupt out of it. You can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of it at all. And on top of that, if all you're doing is paying minimum interest payments, you're just going to see that balance continue to grow over time and you're screwed. It's so bad. So if you don't have a degree and you're like, holy cow, I need one, just chill.
Yeah.
Rest assured that there are more companies now that do not give a crap about your degree than ones who do.
And now trades pay insane. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Everybody's worried about the $15 minimum wage, but it's like, just work for a decent company.
Yeah.
Just work for a decent company. That's all you got to do. And you won't ever have to worry about that. Yeah. Go to McDonald's. Yes. You're going to worry about that. Have some skills, do some stuff. So action steps, kind of closing this out. that's kind of what I want to do with the Becoming an Asset. My entire mission with this series and this format of the show is that you guys can walk away with a couple action steps to be able to be a better version of yourself, to be able to impact the community around you in a better way. And so what I would say, my action step for this episode, and I kind of feel like it's going to be the same all the time. So like, just a spoiler alert, if you get to this point of the podcast, it's probably the same, but it's because I've seen the most change in myself from a positive way. And I continue to refine myself, but also how I've been able to impact other people. And the best way I've been able to do that is to try to be better every single day. Just try to hone in on yourself and do something in your life better every single day. If that is learning to communicate or learning a skill, become better at that every single day. If you're in a job that you don't like right now, figure out how to grow up through that job. Like figure out how to get the maximum amount of value out of what you're doing right now and become more excellent for the people around you. Because I promise you, when you're doing something different, people around you see it. Doesn't matter what you're doing. I don't care if you're a plumber, be the best plumber ever. You know what I mean? If you are on the back of a trash truck throwing trash around, be the best version of that. Figure out how to work your way up through, not just from a career standpoint, but to impact the people around you. Because we need, I would argue, more than people doing what we're doing, okay? Mm-hmm. Like it's important for people like us to be doing what we're doing. What we need more is the one person to impact the other one person, who impacts the other one person. That's far more important than going out and buying camera gear and sitting down on a podcast and speaking into a microphone. That's what we need to be encouraging. So if there's any action step that I would say people should take, it's that stop finding excuses to not do stuff and go do something, whatever that is. Do you have any other insight?
No, I was going to add, I was like, yes, everybody can become an influencer online, but really like when you think about people impacting you, it's never the person online. No. Like they can be a portion of something.
Yeah. But they're forgotten just like everything else.
They can encourage you to go do something, but
like buy a product.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
They've gotten me every time. Every time they've gotten me. But yeah, you have more power than you realize. You have more of an ability to change culture than you realize. You are far more capable than what you realize. And I can say that confidently because I've learned that in my own life, that I am more capable of change than I would ever have realized, not because I'm special, not because you're special, because quite frankly, you're not that special. But, shots fired. I'm kidding. It's not that I think I'm special or somebody else is special. It's that when you are different, when you stand out, when you live your life in excellence, people see it. And when people see it, they speak about it. When they speak about it, they learn about it. And it pushes them to do the exact same thing. And I want to kind of give this as a little bit of a scenario. This is sort of like an example, just a generic example. So like if you knew you had a friend who eats horribly, okay, and you wanted to see them have a better diet, all right, do you think the best way to do that would be to go to them and say, wow, you eat like garbage. You need to eat this. You need to do 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 this, right? Would that be the best way? No, that wouldn't be the best way. But what if you showed up and by example, you ate a diet that was different? You never, ever preached to them about it, but you did the thing that you know you need to do. I'm not saying everybody's going to look at it and say, oh, I need to do that. But you have a much higher likelihood of impacting that person than us just shoving everything down their throat and saying, you. We start with us. Start with you first, pour out into culture, and ultimately I think we'll see this ship turn around. And we'll see what happens. But that's the most important thing I think we can be doing right now. Thank you for listening to the Exodus Companies podcast. This is a movement from a broken culture to build a new, rejuvenated community. If you want to support our growing team, the first thing that you can do is pay it forward. It costs you nothing and it ensures that our podcast is reaching those who need to hear the message the most. Share each episode, post on your socials, and always be sure to tag us. Another way that you can help support the podcast and help it to grow is to suggest topics on our YouTube channel comment section. If you didn't know know, we post videos weekly on our YouTube along with the audio episodes that you're listening to now. Swing over there, hit subscribe, and make sure to leave us a comment. Lastly, shop any of our brands and consider purchasing some of our products. We don't beg you to do this, but it is necessary to sell our products to support our mission here at the Exodus Companies. We can't do this for free, so it does require our followers to support us through our products. If you feel called to do so, the amazing part is you are supporting U.S. manufacturing and U.S. employees. Your investment into us supports families here in the United States and helps us to continue to do what we are doing here at the Exodus Companies. Thank you for your continued support. There's much work to be done in the culture. We will see you all in the next episode.